So after many months of tensions, tears, hashtags, and possibly heartache over Mohbad's tragic plight, a surprising voice has entered the room, and that's Agapollo, the respected showbiz mogul and partner of to our very own beloved Yabojo. Yes, you heard me right. I'm talking about Agapollo. Agapollo has spoken, and what he has said has left tongues wagging, eyebrows raised, and Nigerians asking, why now? Yes, I've gone through a lot of comments in the social media since Agapollo spoke, and what majority of them are asking is, why now? In his words, Naira Marley and Sam Larry did not buy Mohbad. According to Agapollo, what led to the young man's death was carelessness, not deliberate harm. Yes, those were his words. Ah, carelessness. Yes, those were his words. That one word has now opened a fresh basket of conversations all over the social media space in Nigeria and beyond. A new twist in a case that once had the whole country on lockdown. But I tell you, even as I do this video, I believe the whole country is still on lockdown on this Mohbad's imbroglio. But let's be clear, this new angle does not make Yabojo wrong. No, not at all. Not at all. In fact, it confirms how far-sighted Yabojo has been. Because let's be honest, when the world was quiet, Yabojo was very, very loud. When many celebrities were afraid to speak, she stood boldly like a lioness, shielding a wounded cub. She used her platform, her voice, and her resources to demand justice, not for clout, but because she felt the pain of a mother. Yes, she felt the pain of a mother, of a fighter, of someone who could not bear to see a promising young soul fade away without answers. Iyabojo did not accuse blindly. Yes, she reacted like many of us did at the beginning. She asked questions. She stood in the gap when others sat on the fence. And because of that, a national conversation was born. Yes. And now that Agapollo is calling for calm, this has stirred mixed feelings, expectedly. Not because people doubt his sincerity, but because the timing feels like very delicate. Why now? What changed? What does Paulo know now that he did not know then? That's what many are asking. Because Nigerians don't forget easily. We remember the disturbing clips, the bullying, the fear in Mohbad's eyes, the silent cries. We remember the name Sam Larry making rounds like a broken alarm. We remember the whispers that Naira Marley, once a street king, had a hand directly or indirectly in Mohbad's trauma. So when Oga Polo now says, let's make peace, it does not cancel the fact that damage was done. Yes. But we also must grow, of course, as a people. And sometimes growth means listening again, looking deeper, and understanding that truth wears many faces. What Polo has done is throw another light into the dark room, not to erase what Yabojo fought for, but perhaps to offer another perspective, a wider lens. But here is the twist, my people. Polo's statement is not a contradiction of Yabojo's stance. It is, if anything, a calm after the storm that our courage helped to stir. He is asking for peace because Yabojo first demanded justice. You see, the African proverb says, the child who cries aloud is not mad. He simply wants to be heard. That was Mohbad, and the Yabo heard him loud and clear, and she amplified him at that time. And now that Agapollo is speaking, it may be a call to start the healing process, not to silence justice, but to balance it with reflection. Now, this is not to to be unmindful of the effort of our very own VDM on all these whole trying to find justice for the to Mohbad. I'm very mindful of the interventions of VDM of recent, trying to see that we get justice, trying to create a nexus between people who were directly involved with this spy case of Mohbad. And I salute his courage a lot. But again, I also know that as far as Yabojo is concerned, I mean, she's a woman full of energy. I mean, at the time the issue broke, as a mother, I think, as a mother, filled with the spirit of a mother, I think she became very emotional. Even me as a man, I became very emotional at that time, and she took it like a personal battle, a personal fight. It is possible that she became overzealous at some stage, but again, this is what goes with mothers that are very emotional. So I know that with benefit of hindsight now, there might be one or two things she did. Maybe she would have done better by today. But I can say that based on all the feelers, including even these charts, that are being discussed all over the place, I want to just believe that the lady was just innocently being emotional, trying to find justice for the late guy. And I just want to leave it at that. Okay, I just want to leave it at that. Now, to Naira Marley and Sam Larry, do they deserve the hate they have received? Well, I won't directly answer this, but the thing is, for those of us who saw the videos that came out at the beginning of this whole thing, the bullying and everything, you will say, okay, maybe they deserve a bit of this, but do they deserve the level of the hate that came with it? Then another thing is depends on the angle you are looking at this whole thing from. But here it is. That's not for one voice to decide. But one thing is clear, they must carry the burden of their past actions. Whether or not they pulled any trigger, the energy they surrounded Mohbad with was toxic. And there are plethora of videos to attest to this. And when you create fear around someone, you contribute to their fall. Period. That's the way I'm going to put it up. Let this be a lesson to the bullies, the silent enablers, and the entertainers who use fame like a weapon. Be careful who you trample on. The streets never forget. And to Yabojo, yes, our dear Yabojo, the Queen Mother, we say thank you, not for perfection, but for passion, for being that one voice that thundered when silence could have been deadly. Her fans, millions of them, stood behind her, and they were right to do so. If not for people like Yabojo, this matter could have been swept under Lagos dust like many others in the past. But even warriors need to rest, and perhaps that's what Paulo or Agapollo is offering, a soft landing after a hard fight. Okay? To Mohbad's family, be strong. Yes, I want to say be strong. This moment is not about media noise. It's about legacy. Let Mohbad memory live on. Truth, truth, true change, true protection of other artists like him. And to all of us, yes, all of us, me and you, the public, the fans, the watchers, let's not just trend hashtags. Let's grow from them. Because if we don't learn, then Mohbad. If we don't learn from all of this, then Mohbad did not just cry. He cried in vain. So as Agapollo calls for peace, let us never forget who first called for justice. And let that balance guide all of us at this time. I'm begging, I'm appealing. Because as they say, a river that forgets its source will dry up. Let's not forget the voices that made this conversation even possible ab initio. Yes, we all know this. Like I said, and let me just reiterate it once again, Iyabo Ojo is a mother. Yes, just like many of us, she watched those videos of bullying And for people who saw some of those videos, it was easy, very, very easy to say, maybe, just maybe, Naira Marley and Sam Larry, you know, were culpable in the cause of his spy. And even you're sincerely speaking today, at the beginning of that Mohbad's whole conundrum, because I also saw those bullying videos. Do you know, even as a man, I became emotional at some stage. And I also concluded that both of them will have a hand, in the crime of Mohbad. But now, with benefit of hindsight, I knew I was hasty in my judgment at that time. Of course, in a normal society, both of them should have their day, regarding the plethora of videos that show that they actually bullied this guy. So if they're going to be interrogated for bullying, that would be absolutely fantastic. But for the immediate cause of the crime, evidence, that has come up after this whole thing has shown that it's possible they never had a hand in the immediate cause of the crime. And I think that is very instructive. So I want to say finally that look, I think it is time for healing, regardless of this WhatsApp chat that are making the rounds all over the social media. I want to say for Yabojo, maybe she overreacted, but again, she's a mother. She's an emotional being. And if in the course of doing what she did at that time, she was overzealous or whatever, I think we should forgive her. Okay? That's all I want to say at this time. We need to move on. We need to heal from the wounds. Okay? So this is the story for now. I want to thank Agapollo for coming out and speaking the way he spoke, because it's possible that he has gotten uh, 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 different uh, information that contradicts his earlier stand regarding Naira Marley and Sam Larry, just like me, because I had that same view that they were the cause of the crime. So it is not surprised that Paulo, I mean, as a man, as an elderly man he is, it's not surprised that he has come out to speak the truth. And I don't think that is being belittling himself or trying to contradict Yabojo. I think he's just doing what is right to be done. And I think we need to move on. We need to move on. That is not to say as we move on, we don't want justice for Mohbad. We move on peacefully while we seek for that justice. And I know justice, will prevail at the end of the day. God bless you. What do you think about this story? Please feel free to go to the comment section and leave your comment. I'll be right back. Bye bye.